How's it going, my awesome bunch of bakers? Hope you're having a great day. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I have another rough puff pastry recipe for you, but this one is sweet. So let's go to the kitchen and check it out. Okay, beautiful flaky palmiers, pig's ears, elephant ears, palm leaves, butterflies, glasses, crazy smiles, call them what you want. They're flaky, they're sweet, they're tasty. You can spice them up with cinnamon, ginger, cardamom. It's totally up to you. Another perfect way to use your rough puff pastry skills. Whilst being one of the most simple applications for it, it is certainly one of the best. So let's get right to it and see what we need to make them. We'll need some white bread flour, butter, salt and water. We cannot go wrong with this. The butter and water must be cold, so you make sure you keep them in the fridge before you use them. If the butter is too warm, it's going to melt into the dough and it's not going to work. So don't set yourself up for failure. Now let's move on to the filling. We will need an egg for brushing, we'll need sugar, cinnamon and cardamom. Now you can use cardamom powder, but I love this spice so much and it's so much more fragrant when you grind it yourself. So if you have a pestle and mortar at home, grind your own cardamom. It makes a huge difference. It is a pain to peel them one by one, so here's the best way to do it. Simply bash them open using the pestle and mortar. Just whack them a few times until they all open up. Do not grind them too much at this point. Once they all cracked open, remove the seeds. This will take a while, but trust me, it's worth the effort. And of course I know not everyone will like this spice, so if you don't, simply skip it. Palmiers with just cinnamon sugar are perfectly fine and tasty. But if you have never tried cardamom, give it a go, you might just love it. Right, drop the seeds back into the bowl and grind them into a fine powder. Here's a good tip for removing your powders from your mortar. Use a pastry brush, it works really well. I used to try and scrape it out with a spoon, it just took too long. The brush is the perfect tool for this. Okay, so we got our cardamom powder. Let's just mix up the filling. Combine the sugar, cardamom and cinnamon. Mix it all well and then leave it on the side for later. Those are all the ingredients that we need. Next up, let's look at what equipment we'll use for this recipe. We'll need a large baking tray lined with non-stick paper, a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a brush and a rolling pin. And with all that out of the way, let's start making our dough. In a large bowl, combine the flour and the salt. Give it a quick mix. You want to disperse the salt evenly throughout the flour. Next up, add the cold butter cubes. And notice the size of them. You want your butter to be quite chunky. First up, coat the butter in flour. Now take the butter cubes one by one and press them between your fingers. You want to break them down into 4 pieces. Do not break them down any smaller. We are not making biscuit dough here. The butter must remain nice and chunky for this to work. So you should only handle each piece of butter once. This is what the mix should look like once you're done. Next up, pour in the cold water. Then grab your scraper and gently mix it to a dough. And if the scraper starts struggling, continue on by hand. But make sure you don't knead this dough, simply press it together. Mix it until it's one cohesive piece. Then you can tip it out on the table and press it together. Don't worry if it's still a bit lumpy and rough looking, it's supposed to be like that. It should not be smooth at all. If it's smooth, you must have done something wrong. Okay, so the dough is ready, now we can wrap it up and pop it in the fridge for 1 hour to chill down. This resting stage will relax the dough and make it far easier to roll out. Because to make it nice and flaky, we need to roll it out and fold it. Another good thing about chilling it down is that a cold dough with cold butter is far easier to work with. Now take your dough out of the fridge after the 1 hour of chilling, take it out the cling film, dust it generously with flour, then grab your rolling pin and roll it out to about 3 times its length. Don't worry if it's a little bit rough around the edges, it's totally normal. You can use your hands to straighten it out a little bit, but it doesn't have to look perfect. Okay, once you're happy with the size and shape, take one side of the dough and fold it over. Fold over 1/3. Brush off any excess flour and then fold over the other side. And those are the first 3 layers done. Now we need to roll it out again. Make sure you roll it in the direction of the 2 open ends. If you feel that the butter is sticking to the table, give it another dusting of flour. Grab your rolling pin and again roll it to about 3 times its length. Now fold it up exactly the same way as you did earlier. Fold over 1/3, straighten it out, then fold over the other loose end. And what was 3 layers is now 9 layers. And 9 layers might be enough for some projects, but we want these to be extra flaky. So wrap the dough up in cling film once again, because we'll pop it in the fridge for 1 more hour of chilling. And it's for the same reason as before, we need to let this dough relax. This is definitely a project for a day when you're at home all day long. Okay, after the second hour chilling, pull the dough out of the fridge and repeat the exact same steps as earlier. Dust it with flour, roll it out to 3 times its length, fold it in 3 layers, dust it again, roll it out once more, and fold it in 3 layers again. Now we need to let it rest one more time, and after this we can use it for any project we like. Leave it in the fridge for at least 1 hour, but if you want to, you could leave it for up to a whole day. Just make sure that before you bake, you preheat your oven, 210 degrees Celsius, fan off. And that is 410 degrees Fahrenheit for my American friends. Okay, now we can do the final shaping. Dust your dough and your table generously with flour, grab your rolling pin and roll the dough out to a large rectangle. Sometimes it helps to press it out like this first. It makes it open up more evenly. Don't worry about measurements here, just roll it out to a large rectangle. You can make it thicker or thinner, it's up to you. Once you're happy with the size and shape, brush the dough generously with egg all over. Brush it twice, you want the egg layer to be nice and thick. We want it to absorb a lot of that sugary filling. Speaking of the filling, sprinkle it generously all over the dough in a nice even layer. Make sure you cover the whole surface. Once you have used up all the filling, press the sugar down using the palms of your hands. This will make it combine with the egg. Okay, after all that, we can start rolling. First, mark the middle of the dough, so you know where to roll to. We want both sides to be equal, so start from one side. First, fold over a little lip, and then keep rolling it forwards, make it nice and tight. If need be, pull the dough back. You don't want it to be loose and flapping around. Make a nice tight roll. Once you have reached the middle, make sure it stays in place, and then repeat the same from the other side. Okay, this next step is not totally necessary, but I thought I'd try it out. I opened up the roll and decided to brush the exposed edges with egg. I thought maybe that would make them stick together better, but they will not open up regardless, I think. So you can do this or you can skip it, it's up to you. I don't think it made much of a difference in the end for me. Right, and that's how you roll up your Palmiers dough. Now we are ready to cut it up into portions. Move it over to a chopping board, get a serrated knife, clean down the mess. And let's start cutting. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to trim the edges to make everything nice and even. Of course I will still bake them because there's nothing wrong with them. I just wanted all my Palmiers to be the same shape. Okay, trimmings out of the way, we can divide this dough into 12 equal pieces. As with any other roll, the best way to divide it is first to cut it in half, then cut each half in half again, and then cut each of those pieces into an equal amount of portions. That's how you get consistently sized portions. I must say, these are already looking fantastic. Let's get them on a tray because they are ready for the oven. They will spread out quite a lot as they bake, so you don't want them to be any closer to each other than this. Well, let's get these bad boys in the oven. The initial bake will take 22 minutes. And you can see now what I mean by not placing them too close to each other. They spread out a lot. There was no space to spare on this tray. Right after 22 minutes, they are not quite done yet. I've always thought that they look best when you flip them upside down. So that's what we're going to do. Flip them all, then pop the tray back in the oven for another 3 minutes. You want the bottoms to be nice and brown. And whilst they're finishing baking, let's make simple syrup with water and sugar. Bring this up to a boil. We can brush the hot Palmiers with the hot syrup as soon as they come out of the oven. It'll give them a beautiful shine and make them nice and moist. They will still be flaky, but they won't be dry. Plus it will make them nice and sticky. I've always loved this in glazed pastries. And there you have it. That's how you make Palmiers with handmade rough puff pastry. It is just another awesome way of using your rough puff pastry skills. Don't forget to check out the other rough puff pastry projects if you haven't seen them yet. You'll find them in a basic dough playlist. But let's just stop and appreciate this flaky beauty. Nothing in the shop can match the quality of this, because homemade is always best. So what do you think of these Palmiers? Have you ever tried them before? What's your favorite filling? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.